fellow listeners, ladies and gentlemen. In today's address, I will share my experience and perspective on how the current crisis in Rwanda began to emerge. The origins of the current Rwandan crisis can be traced back to the very beginning of the RPA struggle. This is the history of how I narrowly survived on the battlefield and later endured 3 assassination attempts by Paul Kagame, but orchestrated through his Directorate of Military Intelligence, then headed by Kayumba Nyamwasa. I survived 3 assassination attempts orchestrated by the Kagame regime for one simple reason: my commitment to truth, my criticism of injustice, and my determination to speak out against evil. The Battle of Gabiro of October the 9th, 1990. On October 9th, 1990, I was gravely injured during the Rwandan Patriotic Army's first major offensive against the Force Armée Rwandaise, FAR, at Gabiro Garrison, inside Akagera National Park. I commanded one of the 2 vanguard companies in that battle. The FAR, or Force Armée Rwandaise defenders, were supported by Zairian Special Forces of Mobutu's Presidential Guards from the 5th Division, the French troops, and nearly 3,000 Burundian recruits that were refugees in Rwanda. After a full day of fighting, we were overwhelmed due to shortages of ammunition and heavy casualties. At dusk, our forces retreated, leaving me behind on the battlefield with only 2 soldiers, namely Alex Kimenyi and Patrick Ruraz. Shortly, Ruraz left in search of water. This was around after 7 p.m. in the evening, and Ruraz never returned back. Later, at around 9 p.m. Rwandan time, Kimenyi also departed to try to locate our temporary tactical headquarters. Left alone, badly wounded by 2 machine gun bullets lodged into my pelvis, I spent the night fending off hyenas, bleeding almost to death. And by dawn the next morning, at around 5 to 5:30 a.m., the search party of 11 commissioned officers and several soldiers dispatched by then our Axis commander, Major Stephen Ndogote, came and rescued me, evacuated me to the tactical headquarters. Though my life was spared, the bullet that remained lodged in pelvic joint dangerously closer to a nerve, was causing me excruciating pain that would haunt me for the next many years. Denial of treatment and other signs of Kagame's clique. 8 months later, in June 1991, I sent a radio message to Paul Kagame, then overall commander, and a copy to twice OOC Major Ndogote Stephen, Gao Charles Musito, and head medical Dr. Joseph Karimera. In the message, I protested my deliberate medical neglect and demanded urgent treatment. Only after my persistent complaints and the embarrassment of my X-ray results, which revealed the bullet dangerously positioned in my pelvis, was I reluctantly allowed to go for so-called treatment. This medical neglect was not an accident. It was punishment for my outspoken criticism of Kagame's favoritism, including the first round of RPA promotions, in which he advanced only his loyalists while sidelining seasoned fighters. This was in May 1991. From the very beginning, Kagame was building a clique, an inner circle of loyal officers who would later become instruments of his dictatorship. Those of us who questioned the suspicious deaths of senior commanders such as Fred Rwigema, Majors Peter Bayingana and Chris Bonyenyezi, were systematically targeted. The pattern of eliminations. All senior commanders who openly discussed Rwigema's death were eventually eliminated. Notable examples include Captain Sam Byaruhanga, a fearless fighter who had left the RP, who had led the RPA's first successful territorial capture at Gishuro of Sector Shonga. He was assassinated by Mustafa under Nyamwasa's directives. Captain Vedaska Itari, a formidable commander, deeply distrusted by Kagame, who played a critical role in every major early operations from Gabiro to Ruhengeri. He too was assassinated. I was close to both men. Our conversations often circled back to Kagame's role in Rwigema's days, which sealed my fate. From then on, I was marked for elimination. Assassination attempt number 1, July 1991. Kagame authorized Dr. Karimera to facilitate my treatment to Kampala. This was a setup. While traveling with Alex Bambasi and 3DMI operatives, I sensed foreplay, especially after Nyamwasa privately briefed Ibambasi at my watch. When ordered to stop in the dense forests of Rwanda, Kabale, I prepared for the worst. My suspicions proved right. I was about to be executed. However, thanks to my alertness, my armed escorts, and the unexpected arrival of senior officers Tadeo Gashumba, who is still alive, and late Gaddafi Kazintwari, this assassination attempt failed. Instead of receiving medical treatment, I was falsely accused of attacking Ibambasi, jailed in Mbarara at Kamukuzi for 1 week, and later sent back through Nyakivara, then back to front lines without care. It was not until July 1997, 7 years later, into government, that my bullet was finally removed from my pelvis by doctors Innocent Nyaruhirira and Dr. Emile Rwamasirabo at Kigali's Sheikh Hashka or Kigali's Central Hospital. All these are in record. Harassment and marginalization. Because of my insistence on the truth, I faced systematic harassment, promotions withheld, constant surveillance, professional sabotage, public branding as a criminal, all that. In July of 1995, I was appointed as director of the new Rwanda Police Training Center. When I demanded accountability for funds misused by Kagame, I was dismissed, accused of collaborating with UNAMIL, sharing information about the killings of innocent civilians, and labeled an enemy of the state. From that point on, spies monitored me constantly. Assassination attempt number 2. In August of 1996, at the Gako training wing in Bugesera, my arrival back from the police training after Kagame suspended me, this arrival was staged as a public shaming, with the camp commandant, then Major J.B. Jirwasanga, and fortunately, my former friend, he was ordered from above to declare me a criminal after he called a meeting of officers to shame me. Soon after, Nyamwasa Kayumba, Patrick Nyamvumba, and Danny Munyuza planned on an ambush against me at Juru in the Gashora Bugesera area. Fortunately, Sergeant Isoke, formerly with DMI, tipped me off. I altered my route, narrowly escaping the ambush. Then Isoke later disappeared without trace. Assassination attempt number 3. March of 1997. This attempt was more elaborate. My quest to visit my ailing mother was deliberately delayed, then approved with a forced detour through Nyamata area, a known ambush zone. Intelligence later confirmed that DMI and gendarmes from gendarmerie were waiting to eliminate me. I refused the route, choosing instead a longer but safer path through Chibongo. Once again, I escaped Kagame's trap. Continued targeting. From 1998 to 2000, while stationed on Katebe. Katebe is a form of suspension, arbitrary suspension, that is employed by Kagame to all disliked or hated civil servants and military officers. Before I was later deployed to Congo. For almost 3 years in Kigali, I lived under constantly shadowed by Kagame's intelligence operatives. The plan was simple: to finish me off in the Congo. Where chaos offered cover for assassinations. Under guise of war. This mission was thwarted by only 3 factors. One was the resistance from the Congolese allies, namely Zimbabwe and Angolan forces. Number 2 was the Lusaka Peace Agreement, which reduced hostilities, and then the Rwandan troops had to withdraw. And lastly, but not least, the Uganda-Rwanda crashes that were going on in Kisangani, which slightly shifted Kagame's focus on his internal enemies. In conclusion, my survival through these 3 assassination attempts is not a story of luck, but of vigilance and determination. From the battlefield at Gabiro in October 1990, through the years of deliberate neglect, false accusations, and ambushes, I witnessed firsthand Kagame's early system of terror, silencing, sidelining, and eliminating those who dared question him. I carry these scars, not only physical from bullets, but moral for the comrades lost to Kagame's schemes. I speak not only for myself, but for those who were silenced. My testimony is a record of truth. Kagame's regime was built on lies, fear, and bloodshed, and history must not forget this. Dear listeners, thanks for your time, and I look forward to meet you in the next episode. Thank you.